The Soviet High Command became interested in assault guns once they saw the German Sturmgeschütz 3s in action. By November 42, the first prototype of what would become the SU122 was ready, and production began in December 1942, with 27 vehicles rolled out that first month. The original plan was to go for 100 vehicles each month, and production continued into the summer of 1944, at which time about 1,150 had been built. It proved effective at its intended role of direct fire on strongholds. The 122mm high explosive round was reportedly enough to blow the turret off even a Tiger tank if a direct hit was scored. The new heat projectile was introduced in May 1943. However, it was a pretty basic heat round, and it was only slightly more effective than the high explosive shell. However, like most howitzers, the accuracy of the 122mm gun was less than that of contemporary anti-tank weapons. A small number of SU-122 survived the war. Currently, there's only one example left, and that's on display in the Kubinka Tank Museum. So now let's take the lid off the box and see what's inside the box, and then once we had a quick look at that, what we'll do is we'll go through the instructions step by step and have a close look at the parts involved in each of the instructions. So let's go. Hi, so here's the box. Let's have a look at the box. On the front is one of the Deckle options, the whitewash one with the extra storage box bolted on the back. So let's have a look, see what's on the outside. Usual instructions, some CAD photographs on that end. So let's open it up. One thing is, nothing much moves around inside. And then inside, so as usual with MiniArt, we get the instructions and we get one bag of parts. So I'll quickly open this bag, and inside that bag are one bag with the Deckle Sheet and the two clear sprues, which are identical by the way. There's a PE fret wrapped inside cardboard here. And here we have some other bags and some sprues that are not in bags. Basically, these larger sprues look like they're common to other T34 variants. And some nice detail on those. One bag with track links. That's the small fret that gives you the box on the back of the whitewash option. And there's basically the larger parts of the hull. There's the engine compartment. Oh, there's one tiny loose part. And the sides and bottom of the hull. Now I'll open the other bag. So that bag contained lots of duplicate sprues. So rather than filling the table here with loads of duplicate sprues, I've just tried to grab one of each. So there's obviously going to be quite a lot of these road wheels. I think about 10 of those. There's going to be a couple of these. And there's also a couple of these in there as well. Just one of these. This is the roof of the fighting compartment. A few of these. A couple of these to make fuel tanks. Also, I think these are part of the suspension. Quite a lot of these to make the tracks. These go together with the other sprues to make the tracks. And there's a few of these with various parts for the suspension. So, as you can see, there's a lot of parts in this, as you'd expect with the part count. There's over 50 different sprues just in plastic, plus a couple of clear parts, small PE thread. So there's a lot of plastic in here. It'll take a while to build, not as long as the ones with the SU122 with the full interior, but there's lots there, and it's all nicely detailed, and the kit goes into a lot of detail. I'll quickly flick through the instructions here. Basically, it's a glossy paper cover with black and white, just black and white normal printed paper inside. First page, brief introduction to the item. We've got colour call-outs in lots of manufacturers, a map of all the different sprues, a few pieces not used. As you can see, there's a lot of sprues here of varying sizes. And then the instructions, similar format to the MiniArt kits. Build it starting right from the floor of the lower hull, and build your way up, adding in the suspension, main gun. There are some details on the inside of the lower hull. It's not completely bare, like the breech end of the main gun is still there, and detail on the underside of the roof of the fighting compartment. Put it all together. Fuel tanks, and there's your four deckle options, two here in green, and two on the back here. That was green. That one looks like it's in photograph, or it's in the factory, and this one's in whitewash in the front. So let's go through the steps and have a closer look at some of the parts. So the front cover is just the usual thing, gives you the same information as is basically found on the box top. Turning over, the next page is just information about the SU122. Interestingly, it says it was based on the T44 medium tank, so I think they mean to T34. The interesting bit on here is the colours at the bottom. It shows you them in quite a range: ammo, Humbrol, Mr. Colour, Testers, Vallejo, and then I think it's the name in Russian and also the name in English. So plenty of options there. Then we move on to the usual layout of the sprues, and there's lots of small sprues there, so you need a bit of organising on your bench, but it's good that all these sprues are laid out here and they're labelled so you can find them easy enough, and a few bits marked as not used in this particular kit. The build starts with the bottom plate of the hull and builds up from there. Remember, this kit is a simplified version of the kit with the full interior, so there are some interior pieces to this kit. I'm particularly interested in this particular spring to see if I could replace that with a real spring and then make an actual working suspension. That'd be interesting to see if it works. But on this page, we're basically starting to build the suspension and the lower hull. On this next page, we're putting the hull sides together and starting to make the running gear, and again more springs and the beginning of the whole front, the front of the fighting compartment. And on this next step now, we're basically up to where you'd start with the old Tamiya kit, and the whole bottom is pretty much together, and we're starting to put the fighting compartment together. Even though this is the version of the kit without the interior, there is still obviously the full breech end of the main gun, otherwise there's nothing for the muzzle to attach to. So that all goes in this step, and we start to add the first bits of the running gear. On the next page we add the mantlet and start adding the exterior to the main armament. Now I start to build up the rest of the fighting compartment with the sidewalls and the roof, and the interior of the roof still has quite a lot of detail on it left over from the full interior kit that this is based on. The next page is pretty straightforward, mostly adding the road wheels and starting to build up part of the engine deck. This next section is another pretty straightforward one as we're starting to pull together the larger parts of the kit. This one's all about putting together the final pieces onto the engine deck. On the next page we add the main engine deck. For the engine access hatch there's a couple of options. One is the plastic part, and the other option is another plastic part with the grille missing, and you can fit the supplied photo etch part in its place. You also add the engine exhausts, the after the engine compartment, and the working track links. Those get all added at this stage as well. In the next page, we're basically pulling together some of the parts we produced earlier. The last parts of the fighting compartment go on, mudguards, and what looks like a canvas roll goes on the aft end, held down with a couple of pieces of PE and a couple of small plastic loops. The next section is all about external fuel tanks. You can add up to 4 external fuel tanks, of which 2 will have moulded on tie-down straps, and the other 2 you can have the option of either moulded on straps or the PE straps. It looks like you don't have to add all 4, so you could, I'd guess you'd either go for the 2 tanks with the PE straps, or you'd go for all. If you wanted more than that to make it look the same, you'd have to go with the moulded on straps. Of course, you have the option to remove the moulded on straps and find some other PE to add on as well, but it's just something to watch for there. There's a bit of a disparity there. And other than that, on this stage you just add a few more tie down straps for the spare track links. And on this, the final page, we're almost done. We add on like a stowage box at the back that only goes onto one of the Deckle options. Other than that, we add in a few hinges and we're finished. Next we have colour images of 2 of the 4 Deckle options. One from the Bryansk front in the summer of 43 and another one from the same front in August 1943. Both are mostly done in Russian green. The back page has the other 2 Deckle options. One that is from Sverdlovsk, so that's a brand new factory. It'll be perfectly clean with some Russian writing on the side. And the other one is the whitewash one from the box top, which looks quite interesting, and that's from the Leningrad front in 1943. And finally we have the Deckle Sheet. As with others from MiniArt, the carrier film is minimal. It just goes very close around the various objects. It looks nice and thin as well, so I don't anticipate any problems with the Deckle Sheet. It looks very good. So what's the overall conclusion? Well, initially MiniArt done a smart thing here. They had the kit with the full interior, priced it accordingly, and obviously there's lots of people out there who don't want the interior, and more importantly don't want to pay for an interior they're not going to use. So releasing this kit with 4 different Deckle options without the interior, and obviously the price is cheaper, is a good marketing move. More people are going to buy this kit than would probably buy the original one with the full interior. The only other competitor for this is the Tamiya kit. This is the same. The Tamiya kit doesn't have a full interior. In actual fact, that's one of the first ARM models I built many years ago. But this kit is far ahead of that one. So on all, this kit should do well. It should be a really good build. Don't see any problems. Lots of detail. Instructions are really good. Deckles are good. Working tracks. Still interested in finding out, see if I can replace those plastic springs with metal springs to get a working suspension. But all in all, yeah, this has got a big thumbs up.